Top 10 Rudest Countries. As global connectivity reaches all-time highs through forums, feeds, and addictive shorts, we've been able to take a good look at how other nations present themselves. Whether it be by travel or word of mouth, there seems to be a strengthening consensus regarding which countries excel in the realm of hospitality. Some feel like a cozy visit to grandma's house, while others feel like a tense Thanksgiving dinner where everyone's just trying to survive. Nobody has touched the 5-layer mystery dip, and Aunt Susie is starting to take notice. All around the world, countless surveys have been conducted to determine the most common characteristics people share in various regions. Among these characteristics, there are behaviors that neighbors either abhor or admire. East or West, a shared etiquette has been forming that most of the planet has chosen to share, and apparently some have received the memo. Well, either that or they just shredded it and sent back a strongly worded letter. Whatever the case, here are 10 of the rudest countries on Earth. Number 10. Turkey. Turkey is a fascinating country for several reasons. Although it is not as discussed as some other places on this list, it has made a startling impact on the world stage. According to some travelers, Turks have a habit of gossiping about you using their native tongue, especially if you lack knowledge about the surrounding area. There have been reports of being scammed for this very reason, but this tends to be a common thread in many countries around the world. Speaking of commerce, merchants have been noted to be rather impatient and have shown prejudice towards people who look very different from the Turks themselves. There could be a couple of reasons for these findings. The southeastern region of Turkey has seen an increase in crime and political instability and has led to a seemingly perpetual military presence in some cities. It's not incredibly uncommon for tourists to lock their doors during an election period. Regardless, it appears that the Turkish populace is less than mannerly to more native visitors. Number 9. India. India is one of the great spiritual epicenters in the world, responsible for 4 of the leading practices in our age: Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, and Jainism. These faiths have touched the hearts and minds of over 1.5 billion people, and yet this is just a drop in the bucket when one considers how ancient Indian civilization truly is. Activity on the 1269 square mile subcontinent can be traced back 5,000 to 6,000 years. During this time, India has made great strides for humanity as a whole. They were the first to mainstream the concept of nothing or zero, and their most notable contributor to the world of mathematics might be Srinivasa Ramanujan, who, in the early 20th century, helped bring us into the modern age by developing several rapidly converging infinite series for pi. Also, social groups have gone to the area to confirm these rumors with a series of tests. It turns out that you are more likely to get shoved off the sidewalk than to get a door held open for you. Number 8. Poland. Poland is a very interesting country historically speaking. It suffered 3 partitions near the end of the 18th century, and it has been influenced by the whole of Europe at one point or another. Although established in 1025, the nation-state has disappeared several times, leading many to argue about its actual age. Regardless of how and when Poland solidified, it has made several cultural contributions. It is home to the world's largest castle by land area, the Castle of the Teutonic Order in Malbork. It boasts 52 acres of coverage. Geographically, Poland sits in one of the most diverse climates in Europe, causing many to marvel at trekking through the territory. There are notable mountain landscapes like the Tatra and Carpathian, accented with lakes that can bring tears to your eyes. This doesn't even include the almost 500 miles of coastline in the dunes of the Pomeranian region. You heard that right, Poland has dunes. These dunes make up about 80% of this coastline, and it is stunning. Number 7. Italy. Italian civilization can easily turn into a decade-long conversation topic. After all, there is a meme floating around the internet regarding how much a person talks about the Roman Empire. One can't say the same about Ecuador. Sorry, Ecuador. Anyway, Italy's past consists of 3,000 years of strong unification and long-term partition. During that time, they essentially formed the world we are looking at today. Depending on where you are, a simple dinner can sound like generals trying to avoid a war. Many Italians feel that this is a generalization, and this may be true. However, reputations are often earned, and volume does come up in several travel forums. Number 6. China. From one empire to another, China is one of the only countries on the list that rivals Italy in terms of cultural contributions. Whatever opinion one might have about this country in the present day, the region undoubtedly played a role in how humanity functions. During the Han Dynasty 105 AD CE, a court official by the name of Xie Lun used textile waste to create the first real piece of paper. This practice spread all over the world and enabled civilizations to store information more effectively. Before this point, surfaces were brittle or unreliable. In some ways, China beat Gutenberg by almost 1,000 years, making blocks of wood to mass-produce printed manuscripts. One could even go as far as to say China's influence is explosive. As early as the 900s, they had begun exploring combustion, creating the first gunpowder. Number 5. The United States of America. In comparison to all of the previous nations, the US is an infant, and yet it has arguably managed to change the world faster than any of its imperial predecessors. As early as the end of World War I, the country showed everyone that they weren't going anywhere. Beyond the $877 billion military budget, the US changed the way we globally communicate. Virtually every Western neighbor is influenced by the American media machine, for better or worse. Figures like Henry Ford revolutionized manufacturing, opening a doorway that led to the borderline terraforming of the entire planet. If that's not enough to bring it home, the US dollar is the currency that most of the developed world still uses to back their own. The country doesn't just represent value. Number 4. Spain. Speaking of the Americas, it's time to talk about the Latin powerhouse that presented them to Europe. Spain is one of the fabled cradles of modern civilization. The first modern humans settled in the country 35,000 years ago. Tourists can still visit locations like the Altamira Cave, where you can still see the remains of Paleolithic drawings. After a victory in Granada against Moorish forces in 1492, Spain was a monarchical confederation that set its sights outward to the sea. The 16th and 17th centuries saw the golden age of Spain, an empire where the sun never set. Its prosperity pushed Europe into an age of discovery. The presence of this nation-state brought an end to civilizations like the Aztecs, a society that once had 5 to 6 million people inhabiting its borders. Number 3. The British. It seems like every country on this list needs no introduction, and the United Kingdom is no exception. From forming the language of trade to setting global standards, Britain is arguably the most influential state to ever exist. In the 16th century, an ancient rivalry with Spain had reached its peak. The age of exploration was in full swing and colonization quickly followed, and with it, a massive paradigm shift in the world order. To this day, Commonwealth countries all over the world use the governmental systems established by the British, Westminster-style parliamentary aggregates with democratic elections. Number 2. Russia. The nation of Russia is another place that is incredibly difficult to summarize. Whether it's the first thing people think about Russia or not, it is one of the greatest cultural contributors in the history of mankind. There's a lot more to the motherland than ballet and caviar. Home to over 190 different ethnic groups, this massive confluence led to some of the greatest works of literature by authors like Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. The meeting of minds through diplomacy and warfare makes Russia a complex jewel in the eye of any seasoned traveler. Also, Russia happens to be the largest country on Earth at about 6.602 million, providing some of the most breathtaking scenery in the eastern part of the world. People come from all over and marvel at the country's various microclimates, like Telitskoy or the Ural Mountains, the latter recently being put on the map after its publicized presence during the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Number 1. France. France, oh France, how we do love you. From your Eiffel Tower to your legendary bread, there's something about this country that embodies refinement. Unlike most countries on this list, France has undoubtedly enhanced every zeitgeist in human history. It's a smaller territory with only about 68 million people, and yet its mark is godlike. Worried about contracting a disease just by feeding yourself and your family? Meet Louis Pasteur, who made food safer for everyone. Are you having heart problems these days? Rena Lanik is here with the first universal stethoscope. You get the idea. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below, and don't forget to make sure to like and subscribe for further travel ideas. Thank you for coming along with us on this once-in-a-lifetime journey, and until we meet again, may you continue to discover the marvels that the world has to offer.